Very good afternoon to everybody, and a very good afternoon to fellow panelists over here. Thank you, Sajid, for giving a nudge to the whole thing. However, I would like to first of all say that we have an onerous task over here that it's been a post-lunch session and a long day to ensure that you guys don't go off to sleep. So from my part, I'll try to be as short and crisp and try to share something what Mr. Sitapati said, like people in the previous session talked about the future, and now we will talk about the rubber hitting the ground. So I'll come through with certain thoughts and points, what we have done, what the scenario is like, and what we have done in terms of electric mobility in the country, and where we are, and what is the opportunity, and what are the stumbling blocks, and as short as possible. When I was sitting there in the previous session, and I found it very interesting what Professor Junjanwala was talking about, what Mr. Gupta was talking about all the disruption which is taking place across the world. And I felt, well, we all are here at very interesting times. It's a very interesting time that we are seeing a huge change taking place across all different, I would say, technologies, whether it's information technology, telecom, and now it's mobility. And India today has a unique opportunity when we talk about mobility to lead the way globally with solar-powered mobility. Because if I take a note from what Professor Junjanwala was talking about, I think this is where we have the great opportunity. So what is electric mobility? I think that is the most easy way of harnessing solar energy for mobility. And India has abundant solar energy, if you have seen, so that is where we can head with zero-emission mobility. If you look at electric mobility and we look at what's happening across the globe, I think majority of the vehicles which have been sold in 2016, or 2015. 42% of the total population in the world's electric vehicles were sold in 2015, out of which China sort of contributed almost 34%. And how did that happen? Because China took the lead, there was a huge political will. And fortunately, today we see that political will in our country, where if I have to go back about 8 years where I've been engaged with the government talking about electric mobility, evangelizing EV solutions, we had to talk about what is electric mobility, why electric mobility, what is the opportunity of it. That doesn't happen anymore. Now it is a question, what can we do now? That, to quote Minister Piyush Goyal, he said by 2030 we'd like to have 100% electric vehicles. So the vision is very different, the political will is very different. So what China did, they created a huge charging infrastructure. If you look at that, they are very, very clear of creating a huge charging infrastructure. In 2015, the charging infrastructure grew by 450% just in 1 year. And with the result, that almost 1% of the automobiles sold in that country, or four-wheelers and above, were electric vehicles over there just in 1 year. Key reasons for the growth was the political will, which I talked about, aggressive government subsidies for BEVs at the central and state level, restriction on purchase of internal combustion vehicles or the license plates for it, promotion of public mobility models using electric, that is car sharing, and hiring of cars for government officials or government usage of vehicles, and towards at least creating a huge charging infrastructure to the sense that they want to have 4.8 million charging points across the country to fulfill this objective. What is the current scenario in our country where electric vehicles are concerned? We have about 6.5 lakh electric two-wheelers in the market. However, they're of not the quality which customers have been aspiring for, but we see a change over there. Somebody was talking about lead-acid battery some time back, and now fortunately you have vehicle manufacturers which are looking at lithium-ion batteries also for electric two-wheelers. We at Mahindra have almost 5 products in the market which are pure electric vehicles, starting from a 2-door hatch car, a 4-door hatch car, a sedan. Then there is a small, let's say, less than 1 ton cargo carrier which is there, and an 8-seater minivan. So these are the portfolio from Mahindra which we have already introduced, which can be leveraged in this present scenario. for aggressive adoption of electric vehicles. Then there is this ubiquitous e-rickshaws which we see around, which are for first and last mile connectivity. There are almost more than 2.5, 3 lakh e-rickshaws. However, more than 50% of them are coming from the unorganized sector, which the government is looking at to sort of streamline that they come from the organized sector. Then we look at where public mobility is concerned. We have electric buses. We already have Ashok Leyland, Tata Motors, and all with the electric products which are there. There's Goldstone from BYD over here, which has brought in a bus and which is going to be deployed in Himachal Pradesh. So the products are already there, and what it needs is something which we will come to later in the presentation. So the opportunities where electric mobility is concerned for mass adoption, EVs, like everybody knows, has a low running cost. The total cost of ownership in kilometers per day is very, very low over a period of, let's say, 3 to 5 years, in spite of the high sticker cost. If you look at the opportunity, there are more than 500,000 taxis which are with aggregators in the country. So that is a huge opportunity, and why, I will give you the evidence of it as we go forward. The daily running of these vehicles about 200 and 250 kilometers, and the question which will come in everybody's mind, the electric cars which we have right now have a range of 100, 120 kilometers. So how do they fit into the scenario? I'll share that with you. For metro feeder, like I shared, we already have the mini vans which are there, 8-seaters. We have the first mile, last mile connectivity, e-rickshaws, which is possible. And if you look at corporate commuting, there are more than 20 lakh vehicles used for corporate employee movement, which is a huge low-hanging fruit where electric vehicles can be adopted and deployed. Something else which I have not mentioned in the slide is school minivans, because they are perfectly ideal that they work in a small radius, pick up the kids and bring it to school, and the vehicle is parked there when it can be easily charged by solar energy at that time. So I will share with you our experience of using these vehicles for public mobility. Like I said, a vehicle which does 100 kilometers, has a range of 100 or 120 kilometers with a single charge, but in an application where the usage is of more than 250 or 280, how did we do it in Bangalore? There was a startup which we sort of partnered with our guidance and help. They were able to work out a business case wherein they started off with 125 vehicles for corporate employee movement. And trust me, in the very first year, they broke even. And each vehicle over there is doing about 250 to 280 kilometers per day with the help of fast chargers, which were indigenously designed for Indian conditions, locally developed at a fraction of a cost what global manufacturers are able to give. Then, not only that, we have got that small cargo van, minivan, which is being used by online grocery delivery by the hypermarket people. These vehicles are running in Delhi, 10 of them with big basket, where we are trying to get the learnings. And the first thing which is coming out is that the operator and big basket both are finding that the running cost is very, very low. So the opportunity is again over there, which is very, very evident. And we have already done the demonstration of it, and now it requires to be, scaled up. Now, the opportunities are there. I have not even talked about personal mobility per se, wherein people who have got small offices or some people who have their own driving space can put their own 3 meter by 3 meter solar panel and have enough energy to go about 50 to 60 kilometers in a day. So, but on a macro scale, on a larger scale, what are the challenges for wider adoption? In spite of the fact that the government has had a policy for the last 2 years under the National Mission of Electric Mobility, things have not really taken off. And there have been because of certain gaps which have been there in terms of creating the charging infrastructure. Because if we require vehicles to be used by fleet operators, I think one thing they definitely requires a charging infrastructure, and which is something which is really required. The higher price and acquisition cost of electric vehicles is definitely a challenge, but that can be bridged with certain models which I think Professor Junjunwala fleetingly mentioned, that if we take out the batteries away from the vehicles and give out batteries on leasing basis or something, I think where the cost becomes neutral compared to an ICE vehicle, and the battery is seen as the fuel, the battery energy is seen as the fuel. The ecosystem where policies and subsidies are concerned, yes, it's there, but what is more important, it is not creating the confidence right now with the original equipment manufacturers, because the policy has come in for 2 years, which is till 31st March 2017, and then the continuity of it is still, the assurance is there, but there's nothing in paper as such. But for business leaders, I think it's very important to have the comfort level of a long-term policy where they can sort of dedicate X amount of investment, which is in crores, so that development and innovation for electric vehicles can take place. I'm again coming back to the point of charging infrastructure, which is absolutely essential. A dedicated parking for electric vehicles could also be a benefit and could be an enabler. EV grid integration, which Mr. Sajid just mentioned, I think that's a huge challenge, but I can see a lot of work taking place internally in the government on all these issues, and I'm very optimistic and hopeful that something should come through very, very fast. One of the things which is again a challenge where electric mobility is concerned, we find that the awareness levels per se across the country is very, very low. Awareness within the central government may be very good, but when you go down to the states and look at the state governments and talk to the stakeholders over there, trust me, they're not on the same page with the central government at all. I think the awareness levels, you go back almost 8 years back when I had to talk about why EVs, what are EVs, what are the benefits. I think that is what happens at the state level. At the same time, at a consumer, private consumer level also, the awareness is very, very low. The confidence in the new technology is still not there because they don't see the vehicles on road. Because what you see on road is what actually sells. I think one of the ways forward is with the government taking the lead for adopting electric vehicles for own use would really create a huge confidence where consumers are concerned, where they'll be able to put their hard-earned money in buying an electric vehicle when they see the government doing the same. Then coming back to it, attractive customer offerings of products. Like you notice that I only talked about Mahindra products in the market. There's no other electric four-wheeler available in the market. No other OEM has brought it. I think if more and more OEMs comes up with more products, I think then a market would be created and the awareness would increase, and I think adoption would also increase. Thank you.